and great rising. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Young Scholars Academy. Today is June 5th. It's the first Saturday of the month, and I'm excited to be here. My name is Miss Audie, and we have some lovely scholars here today that would love to share some reading with you all. Mr. Rob, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. Rob Jones from the Young Scholars Academy. Glad to be here as usual. And I think we should probably just get started because we know some of our young scholars they have some other priorities they have to attend to.
Who would like to start first?
Oh, Ayana.
Beautiful. I love it. You can begin whenever you're ready, love.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ayana, and today I will be doing a continuation of Black Panther Tales of
Yeah.
Wakanda. But like all actions, it had its share of consequences. He's still technically king, but no longer certified, the way I understand it. The rule of law became tribal over political, and one of the reasons I was brought here from my safe house in Chicago was to quell some of the tribal council tensions. I am Wakanda's king. Though he spoke without a hint of annoyance, T'Challa's voice always had the undercut of tread lightly or I will take grandmama's switch to your behind. We hope to be Wakanda's friend. The East Asia Corporation of House hopes only to help Africa stand by themselves. Zhang's face lit up, all warmth and charm. Our government and our businesses concerned have always backed African liberation movement since Wakanda's born. A velvet glove does not make the yoke of colonialism. A velvet glove does not make the yoke of colonialism any less brutal. If you've come to exploit us, it only makes you someone new to resist. T'Challa meets his eyes. It's a dark and terrible thing to stare into the eyes of a panther up close. Shanks takes a half step backwards. We have learned much about the way of those who would oppress us. That is the fear. That you believe that it's China's turn to exploit us. A new colonizer looking to grow his power on our wealth. Giant presses his head into the chest in the mock injury. Our corporation prefers a different path. After all, after the death of our founding father, no more progressive leaders choose to invest in business, science, and technology. Now we simply do business. We're offering trade and aid. For example, we're building a $1.7 billion hydropower dam in Nigeria. Jiang leads the way to the center stage with a hand flourish. A three-dimensional holographic rendering of the edge of Nigeria appears. At the end of where Nigeria appears. The ancient shoreline on the far side of Nigeria. Once that image settles, Jiang overlays it with the image of proposed project. A tourist park, residential area, an industrial zone, commercial zone, a tech park, an art district, all terminating the dam in progress. We want to turn the city into a high-tech hub. One of the world's largest cities with the largest port. Jiang all but beams with pride. It's all about responsible investment. Responsible foreign investment is an oxymoron. At the center silence, I glance around. Everyone shifts towards me. I had accidentally used my outside voice. Go on, T'Challa says. When I had first read the proposal, it was generous. I began, hiding the quiver of uncertainty in my voice. The deals and loans weren't profitable for China's Commercial Holdings International Bank. Why do we listen to the naive prattling of a child? Zhang's umbrage sears a visible scar of sneer across his face. The way you talk to the youngest child of our citizens is embellished, and how you see all of us. This child is a valued member of the inner circle. The children of Wakanda are trained as leaders from the time they can speak, and are free to share their thoughts. T'Challa nods for me to continue. But I emphasize the word for good measure. When you read fine print, should a country fall to meet the terms of the loan, Chinese corporations, and by extension the government of China, will lose those projects for their interests outright. The finer points of international commerce may be lost in you. We pay our fair share in taxes to the countries we do business in, as Nania, Canaan, Narboria, and Naganda. We promote African autonomy and independence because we need more trading partners. Again, we only want to befriend the high rent. That means black people. The way he says it, I heard an R. Africa has no friends, only exploiters. The history of empty promises and condescension from the West has made us wary. We know we've addressed these as equals. After all, we too are a nation of banks. This exactly is why I hate political intrigue. There's simply just time for me to straight argue with someone in a polite way. Speaking of, T'Challa's face develops beyond poker face. It's like he's able to even hide his. I don't know. Spirit from me? There's a wall where a man should be. Rolling seems about to be managed paranoia. Calculating what your enemies are up to, even if your friends are up to, since everyone moves according to their own self-interest. An outsider can only know T'Challa from his actions, and even those are layers within schemes. A lonely place within the halls of power. A flutter in a hologram draws my attention. Is this a live feed? I ask. Yes, it is, Giant relaxes, sounding entirely pleased with himself. My king. I nod towards the shimmer on the screen. The slightest ripple, but to those who know what they are looking at, is the signature distortion of the effect pronounced by the Hazare's cloaking technology blends in light. Hunter. The king surely saw it, though his face didn't betray a flicker of recognition. Then I wonder if it was supposed to alert anyone at all. And the curse of my big mouth. Giant squints, but he doesn't know what to look for. If one of your operatives sabotages our work, the businessman busters and his assumptions will be filling the banks with what he can't see. We will hold you personally responsible. That's all I'm going to read for now.
Thank you so much. I didn't want to cut you off as you're doing so well, but I want to give the other scholars time as well. Thank you, darling. Who would like to go next? Aaliyah, would you like to go next?
Yes.
All right. We're ready for you.
Friday, October 8th. Well, I'm reading a continuation of With the Might of Angels. Friday, October 8th, 1954. Leave it to Mama to find a way to get chalk dust off my clothes and out of my hair. Her methods are always easy for her, but hard on me. Today she came at me with a ribbon of flypaper and pressed its sticky strip all over my clothes. That definitely pulled the chalk dust, but snatched at the back of my hands near the ends of my sleeves and other skin I had showing. For my hair, Mama made me stand by our summer house fan to let the chalk dust blow off. And oh, did it blow, and oh, did I not like it. Saturday, October 9th, 1954. Mama's added something new to my Saturday chore list: raking leaves. I spent my school days beating erasers and dumping slop water, and my Saturdays doing yard work. Do kids have any more fun? Monday, October 11th, 1954. For all the staring or clucking kids do when I walk through the halls at school in math class, I have the opposite problem. Miss Hughes, my teacher, ignores me. In Mrs. Hughes' class, I'm as invisible as a ghost. I admit, math class is my hardest subject, but I at least try. Today, each time I raised my hand, Mrs. Hughes looked right past me. I could see that her glasses are as thick as the bottom of a pop bottle. But I know Mrs. Hughes is not blind. During our math lesson today, Mrs. Hughes asked us to give an example of an integer. Nobody raised their hand. Not one kid knew how to answer that. I sort of knew how to answer, so I put my hand up and held it. The answer, I think, is that an integer is a whole number, not a fraction, or a number that has a decimal. An integer can be positive, negative, or zero. The numbers 12, 3, negative 42, and a million are all integers, I think. At first, I thought Mrs. Hughes was giving some of the other students a chance to answer, but not one kid took the chance. I could feel the blood running from my hand. My arm started to get tired, but I was not putting it down till she called on me, or at least she looked in my direction. Mrs. Hughes repeating the question. Can anyone give an example of an integer? Nobody said anything. Do I have any volunteers? I asked Mrs. Hughes. Do I have any chance of getting called on? I wondered. The room had fallen silent, and no one wanted to take a chance with the answer. They all saw my hand up. I think they were hoping Mrs. Hughes would call on me so that she wouldn't call on one of them. Bobby Hatch burped and everyone giggled. We were nearing the end of the period. Mrs. Hughes went on to the next question. An easy one. Even the stupidest kid could answer. Mrs. Hughes asked, "What is a real number?" This sent 10 hands flying up. I didn't bother raising mine. It was clear I was not getting called on, even though I knew that a real number is the kind of number people normally use, such as 1, 89, and negative 37. I stayed quiet. Here's what else I knew. I now have figured out the answer to the real problem in Mrs. Hughes' math class. It all adds up to this. 1 white teacher plus 1 Negro student plus 28 white kids equals 1 invisible Donnie Ray Johnson. Or here's another problem. 1 teacher minus 1 act of kindness makes me feel less than 0. P.S. This being Columbus Day, I'd have thought we'd had the day off, but it was probably Mrs. Hughes who said, "Let's keep the school open so I can make Donnie feel smaller than a baby ant." Tuesday, October 12, 1954. In Mrs. Ruth's English class, I am far from invisible. Mrs. Ruth loves to call on me, even when my hand is not raised. But it seems my understanding of English is different than Mrs. Ruth's understanding. I mean, we're both saying the same thing. At least that's how I see it. But to Mrs. Ruth's way of thinking, every answer I give is wrong. Today, with how Mrs. Ruth was treating me, I wonder if I was even speaking English. She asked me to name the parts of speech. Easy. Verb, noun, adjective, adverb, pronoun. I said. I thought for a moment. There were more, but I couldn't remember them all. That's wrong, Donnie, Mrs. Ruth said. There are 8 parts of speech. Verb, noun, adjective, adverb, pronoun, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. Mrs. Ruth was right. There are 8 parts of speech. I'd forgotten 2. But that didn't make my whole answer wrong. For the next question, Mrs. Ruth singled me out again. She didn't seem to call much on other kids. Some of them even wanted to answer. But I'm the one who got all the attention. And I'm the one who got slapped down every time I spoke. Donnie, what is a synonym? Easy question. But I thought carefully before answering. I asked myself, are there 8 parts to a synonym? I said, a synonym is a word or a way of saying something that means the same thing or another word, or having another way of saying it. That was the right answer. I knew it. Wrong, Donnie, Mrs. Ruth said. She looked pleased to be saying those 2 words together. Wrong, Donnie. A synonym is a word or expression that has the same meaning as another word or expression, Mrs. Ruth proclaimed. All I could think about was, isn't that what I just said? Mrs. Ruth asked, Donnie, are you even paying attention? Mrs. Ruth, are you paying attention? This is English class, right? Are we speaking the same language? Because I am saying the exact same thing you're saying, but saying it different and forgetting one small part. But like a synonym, we mean the same thing. Are you paying attention, Mrs. Ruth? Are you? How about if I call you wrong, Mrs. Ruth? Are you wrong for ridiculing me in front of my class, in front of the entire class when my answer is mostly right? I said, yes, ma'am, I'm paying attention. Dear Mrs. Ruth, I have a gift for you, a present, in case you're not paying attention, and gift and present are synonyms. Here are a bundle of heap of synonyms for how I feel about your English class. Aggravated, enraged, furious, hotter than Tabasco sauce, mad as a hornet, angry as a rattler. Sincerely, truly, honestly, these are more synonyms, Mrs. Ruth. Donnie Johnson. Wednesday, October 13th, 1954. I like my history teacher, Mr. Dumfrey. He's different than the other teachers at Pretty Men. For one thing, he's young and wears sweaters, not a jacket and tie like every other man at school. Mr. Dumfrey is definitely not from Hadley. No doubt he's north from here. He greets everyone with a handshake as we enter his classroom, even me, and he addresses each of us by our name while shaking hands. Mr. Dumfrey talks funny, though. He's not the same kind of funny as the lady in the black dress. He stretches my name like he's pulling a long rubber band. Donnie. He tells the class to pay attention so that later we can go out to the schoolyard. I think he means schoolyard. I don't care what it's called, because I won't be going there anytime soon. And I don't care that Mr. Dumfrey puts a northern spin on my southern name. Thursday, October 14th, 1954. This evening past supper, Mr. Stutter from the dairy came calling on Daddy. Daddy stepped onto the porch. Mr. Stutter kept a distance between them. He was holding a lantern while Daddy and Mr. Stutter spoke quietly. Mama and Goober washed dishes in the kitchen. I went out onto the porch. Daddy said, go back inside, Donnie. He was holding a lantern, too, close to his face. I disobeyed Daddy, even though he didn't know it. I went inside, but stayed near the door, where I watched and listened to the two men talking. Evening, Curtis, Mr. Sutter said. He never once took his eyes off Daddy. Daddy was cordial, but careful, too. Something you need from me, Mr. Sutter? How's your family? Mr. Sutter asked. Daddy raised his lantern. We're getting on fine. Did you find work yet? Mr. Sutter wanted to know. Daddy shook his head. I'm looking. Mr. Sutter's lantern hit the hollows of his face. Daddy asked his question again. Something you need from me? Mr. Sutter's voice got low. There are uncertain times, Curtis, he said quietly. Keep an eye on your wife and youngins. Daddy wiped the top of his lip with the back of his hand. Always do, he said. Goober called me then. Donnie, come dry the plates. Mr. Sutter said goodnight. And so did Daddy. Friday, October 15th, 1954. Yolanda visited today after school, and she had domino box under her arm. Donnie, want to do dominoes? Can't, I said. Gotta study. I'm taking history and context and algebraic reasoning and biology down.
Hey, hon, I'm sorry. You didn't hear me. My apologies. I would like for you to finish reading up if you're are you in the middle of a paragraph? And then we'll go on to Daniel. Okay, that was the top of that entry. Okay. Beautiful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have
Daniel, you making faces over there?
Hello.
Peace.
I'm going to be continuing the book that I was reading last Saturday. It's Minecraft Crash. So I left off at page 26 on chapter 3. So, My mother was talking to someone in the My mother was talking to someone in the room when I blinked my eyes open. The room was brighter, and for a moment it felt like almost being inside the game again. Things felt somehow less real, and images appeared blocky and undefined for a couple of seconds, until the sleep faded from my eyes. Maybe I was still traumatized by being put in the kids' Minecraft VR world, and then being kicked out without a chance to get to use it at all. "Hey," my mother said. She came over to the side of the bed and twisted a couple of my braids in her fingers, arranging them on the top of my head. I heard you had kind of oh my gosh. I heard you had kind of a rough night. I shrugged, or at least I tried to. I still wasn't sure if my shoulders actually moved or not. Dr. Nee stepped closer. Her hair was piled in a bun. "I heard you met AJ." She took a sharp breath. He knows he's not supposed to be in other people's rooms. He's a little over-enthusiastic and gets underfoot sometimes, especially during shift changes. I looked past Dr. Nate to a uniformed police officer who was hovering near the door. Immediately, my body stiffened. One of the machines beeped oddly, and Dr. Nate frowned as she looked at it. She looked at the officer and shook her head. He nodded once and left. A few seconds later, the machine stopped beeping. "Don't get mad at AJ," I said. "I think he was just trying to be friendly." "I understand, Bianca, but your recovery is the most important thing right now," Dr. Nee said. She projected another hologram from her tablet into space between us. This one was a line graph showing various peaks and valleys. You see, AJ came in around 2 a.m., and you had quite a spike in adrenaline and heart rate. Dr. Nay paused for a second as she stepped closer to the hologram. She pointed at a spot on the graph with the highest peak and then squinted at one of the machines near my head. "Do you remember what happened?" "I got sick," I admitted. "From the game." Dr. Nee looked confused. "What game?" "Minecraft," I said. "AJ showed me his VR goggles and I got too dizzy." "What does that mean?" my mother asked. "We have a number of VR machines here in the children's ward. They're good for entertaining some of the kids who have to stay here a while." I wasn't sure that Bianca was stable enough to be offered one. Considering my initial reaction to AJ's goggles, I wasn't sure if I was stable enough either. But I wanted badly to no longer have to stare at the ceiling or another darn hologram image. "Can I get a set of my own, please?" Dr. Ray shook her head. The bun on her head wobbled. "Not until they've run a few more tests to make sure it's okay. You had a concussion after all. I'm not sure of the effects on VR on that." "Okay, but what about Lonnie? Nobody's telling me about what happened to Lonnie." Dr. Nay looked at my mother, who had gotten immediately stiff at the mention of Lonnie's name. You need to focus on your own recovery," the doctor said. I looked at my mother's face. Your friend is fine. It was not a your friend is fine face. It was a we don't want to tell you how bad it is face. She never looked at me. She looked at the floor and at Dr. Nay, and then at the floor again. I feel a weight pressing down on my chest, and a cold sweat sprung up on my body. The machine began to beep in sharp tones. That same piercing pain darted through the top of my head, and I squeezed my eyes shut. I could hear bustling footsteps around me, and this feeling of people pressing in close. But everything they said around me was garbled and muffled somehow, as if my head was somewhere else. But my body was inside the room, getting worked over by the nursing staff. I thought I would throw up again, but I didn't. When I was able to open my eyes again, Dr. Nate was pressing the plunger of a needle into my IV drip. "No," I heard myself saying, but it was too late. I woke up. after what felt like hours in the dark. And the kid was back, staring at me. Do you want to try playing again? He asked. A pair of VR goggles dangled from his hand. I looked around. It felt like a repeat of the night before, including my father sleeping in the chair. It was almost as if the entire day never happened. What day is it? Wednesday, he said. I chuckled, realizing I didn't know what day it was previously, so I had nothing to compare it. Were you here last night? No, I've been here for 3 weeks, he said. No, I mean, my head was fuzzy, so I stopped. I wasn't getting anywhere. He stepped closer. The goggles take time getting used to. It almost never goes right the first time, but the second time is usually better. I nodded. You should close your eyes for a while. The VR adjusts to. You should You should close your eyes for a while. The VR adjusts to a new user, AJ said. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that last time. That's probably why you puked. Yeah, I'm not interested in a repeat performance. Me either. I closed my eyes as AJ put the goggles on me, gentler than the last time. This time, the strange tickling sensation that started on last that started on the sides of my temples expanded to cover my face. A wave of vertigo hit me, like I was falling, without my like I was falling, but without my actual body. I gritted my teeth together. Finally, the motion stilled. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in a strange lobby-like environment with a giant menu display floating before me like a jumbotron. When whenever I looked at whatever I looked at or thought about looking at something, the screen responded, flipping through movies, music, and games. Creepy, I thought. It was like the goggles could almost read my mind. Using this interface, I navigated to the Games tab and chose Minecraft. The, you want me
Thank
to
you.
stop here?
I think that's
Yeah, perfect.
perfect.
Thanks,
Amazing.
Daniel. And the
Mm-hmm.
other thing, Daniel, I want to comment on is your perseverance. We all stumble, but you just kept going. You picked yourself up and kept going. So, that's a life lesson that you can use in all aspects of your life. So, good job on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I love you saying that, Mr. Rob. That's amazing. Tenacity. Keep it
Yes.
up. Perseverance. Keep it up, Daniel. You do an amazing job. All right. I would like to do a breathing exercise before we log off. You all did amazing reading. I love your energy when you're reading. Just some reminders to take your time when you're reading. If you come upon a word that's difficult to sound out, take your time and sound it out. Breathing through it will help you. Um, so let's go ahead and take some deep inhales and exhales, right? So if you remember from maybe the week before last when we worked on some breathing exercises, when you take your deep breath, you're going to breathe through your nose. You're going to smell, right? You're going to fill up your belly and your lungs, right? And you're going to kind of elevate. You're going to come up, hold your breath for 4 seconds, and exhale big through your mouth for 4 seconds. So that's called 4-part breathing, okay? So let's try it. Nice deep inhale. Hold it. And exhale. Nice. Let's do it 2 more times. Inhale. Hold it. Exhale. You can try with closing your eyes if you haven't already. Inhale. Hold it. Exhale.
I feel
Nice.
super hyper right now.
Hey. Amazing. You all are wonderful. You all are amazing. Thank you for sharing space this morning. Thank you for tuning in. For all of those who've tuned in, scholars, thank you for sharing. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I think this concludes.
Y'all was all right. Y'all was all right.
I think this concludes
Y'all
our
was all right.
session.
I love you, Aaliyah. I seen that look. She did the cocktail like.
You deserve a throat punch.
Yo, thank you, everybody. We're saying peace.
Enjoy your
Yes,
day. It's gonna be
peace.
beautiful
Enjoy your
out.
day. Yes, enjoy your weekend. Have a beautiful day. Week at school next week. Summer's here, right? Summer vacation's almost here.
Oh, congratulations, Daniel, going into middle school. He just had his graduation. And then my baby Aaliyah is growing up on me. She just graduated from the 8th grade. She's going into high school.
Uh-oh.
Yes. I'm waiting for my pictures to arrive. Congratulations, you guys. Much love to you, Ayana, somewhere. I know she's out there somewhere. But I'm so proud of you guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Amazing.
Yes, sir. Indeed, indeed.
Blessings.
All right,
All right.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.
Thank you.